Hello everyone, welcome back to Rolling Solo. My name is Adam Smith and we are in trial number 1 of the solo trials from Hoplomachus Origins. In the last video we did pretty good. We ended up getting ourselves 1 point and now we're moving into the deployment phase of my turn. So the really cool thing with that is I'll be gaining a point right off the hop because I'm going to have my Centurion starting his turn on an arena hex, so that's awesome. Now we'll get that point in a second, but first I want to talk a little bit about the last video just to clarify a little bit about attacking on these stones in a elevated stance. So because of when individuals or units are on these elevated platforms, making attacks are +1 damage. So in the prior video, and I mentioned this in the pinned comment, when Ariq was actually here, and I made an attack against her, I hit her for 1 very early on in the last video. I actually would have hit her for 2, which would have killed her right away. So essentially, she would have been dead a little earlier, but regardless, it doesn't change the gameplay because I ended up killing her off in the last video by the end of it regardless. So just wanted to point that out, that it is something to try to keep in mind is when you're making attacks from an elevated position, you get the +1 bonus unless you actually are attacking another unit which is also on an elevated spot, and then it just negates itself and nothing happens. So something to keep in mind going forward. The other thing I want to talk about is in terms of ties. Now remember in the last video I was unsure as to how ties work. Ties actually worked kind of how I assumed, I guess, in my head they would work, and that would be that I would actually break the tie. Now in the last video at the very end I had a choice because I chose to, being that the Centurion and Hoplite were equal in terms of health and strength, so I could have either had Ariq Boke throw either one of them overhead, so I chose the Hoplite to be chucked. So that's fine, I did that strategically because the Hoplite has more movement based on the green symbol there on his chip. So I want him to be able to, and it just because he's able to move too, he'll be able to get back on really fast. So now Ariq Boke at the very end of the last video made an attack, and at the time I chose that it would go against the Hoplite, and I took the damage from the Hoplite. I'm actually instead going to change my mind and have the damage go against the Centurion, and the reason for that is because it's good. He also has the parry ability, and the Centurion having the parry ability means that that first basic attack coming from Ariq Boke, which when he rolled the black die, or when he rolled, sorry, not the black die, but the yellow die for a basic attack, instead of hitting the Hoplite, he's going to hit the Centurion. My parry will block it completely, and so no damage is done, and that's awesome. So if you want a little sum up of that and what I just explained, it's in a pinned comment in the prior video. But let's get going on this particular one. So we're starting right off in the deployment phase, so I can go ahead and deploy my remaining gladiators, so I'm definitely going to do that. This gladiator has a lot of health. Retainer has stun, combat lock, as well as a bunch of other stats that are a little lower, but the health-wise, this individual is quite strong. So we're going to get ourselves the chips needed to satisfy this individual, which is 5. And now we just got to figure out a way to place this individual. I'm thinking possibly like this. I think that makes sense, just so that if we're going to have the Hoplite likely come here, or potentially even this individual with 3, maybe here, then maybe this will be our backup guy. He can maybe go around. If that's the case, actually, oh, it's tough to call. I don't know, maybe I'll leave it here. Maybe I should have it here, but anyway, I'm gonna have him deploy on this blood splatter hex. So that's my deployment. Now we're gonna go ahead and move, remembering that the retainer individual who just deployed cannot move, so now we'll move over to any of our other guys we can move in whatever order we choose. So at this point, we really want to get guys back on the arena hex. That's the biggest thing. So the first thing I'm going to do is probably have the Hoplite get back into action. The Centurion doesn't need to move at all. I'm very happy with where the Centurion is. So I'm going to leave the Centurion where he is. Now let's just take a look at shove again, because I think that happens in the move phase. Yes. Move this unit 1 hex into the opposing unit. That unit also moves back 1 hex. If opposing unit cannot move directly back 1, shove cannot be moved. So I'm not going to have the Centurion shove Ariq Boke just yet, because I want to have the Hoplite use 2 movement to get on the arena hex first, and then I'm going to shove Ariq Boke off this arena hex. So here we go. Movement for the Hoplite, 1 and then 2, again denoted by the 2 as I mentioned earlier on the chip. So now the Hoplite is on an arena hex. I've gone ahead with that. The next thing we're going to do here, if I can get my focus to come back, is we're going to activate the Centurion to shove Ariq Boke. But before we do that, we're going to take our point for being on the arena hex at the beginning of the Centurion's turn. So that's 2 points now for us. We're going to activate his shove ability, and we're going to have him shove Ariq Boke off of the platform, which is great, meaning that when this champion activates, no points are going to be given to the other team. So far we're up 2 and they're 0. We've got 2 people on the Arena Hex and they both made their movements now. We obviously, like I said, can't use the retainer in the movement phase. We can use this guy. And I'm horrible because somebody actually in the comments went ahead and tried to help me with the spelling, and I've already slightly forgotten it. So just give me a second while I try to see if I can find it really quick. I might be able to find this, maybe not. There's a lot of comments actually in this one. No. Okay, so sorry about that. I know the individual that put that in there. I believe it's Siloy or Silo. I don't know, something like that. I'll get it down for the next video, I swear. So this guy here, we're gonna have him move. He's got 3 movement, so we're gonna have him move as quick as possible. Now it would make sense for him to maybe go, let me think, 1, 2, 3. Yeah, that would make the most sense. Have him go all the way to the Arena Hex on this side. That would be pretty awesome. So if we just go 1, 2, 3, then that's perfect because now we've got the ability for this individual to go from here. Now, let me see here. What does the swap and distract innate ability do? Distract. And also, before I continue on, I should probably look at the hoplites just to make sure reposition and skewer doesn't do anything. Reposition says instead of attacking unit may move 1 hex. I don't want to use that. Skewer says unit's attack hits both. Okay, that's just for the attacking. In terms of this individual who I just moved, he has a swap ability that says unit may switch places with another adjacent unit. Don't really want to do that right now. Not a fighter, not a person who rolls attack. So I'd like him to stay in the back. His distract, however, is innate, and all dice used by adjacent opposing units for basic attacks are changed to yellow. Oh, so maybe, well, I don't know. Having him back there is pretty good because it just guarantees that we'll have, if this guy chucks one of us off one of these Arena Hexes, we'll still have 2 on. So maybe I'll leave him there instead of having him. I could have strategically placed him over here somewhere in order to affect Ariq Boke's attack later, but I'm just going to pass by that, try to go for the amount of arena points we need. And of course I can't move this guy, so we're done with our movement now. So we're going to move to the attack phase. So this should be fun. So we're obviously only attacking 1 individual, and we got the Hoplite and the Centurion right next to Ariq Boke, so we're going to go ahead and roll. Technically, I'm fighting with 2 here. The Hoplite, the Skewer ability, remember, allows me to hit both adjacent unit and the unit directly behind it, but we don't have any unit there, so it wouldn't matter. So these guys are just going to, I'm just going to roll both of their dice at the same time because technically I'm attacking with both guys against Ariq Boke. So a green and a black. As you can see, the Hoplite has a black die and the Centurion has a green die, so I'm going to roll both of those and hope for some hits. Okay, so we got a hit and a hit. Now let's go ahead and we got to resolve these individually, even though I rolled them together just for ease. Parry on this individual says that let's see, parry, unit ignores first successful basic attack against him each turn. So essentially what would happen is parry is going to block the first attack. So essentially he will, it doesn't matter. We got 2 hits, so he's going to parry one of those hits, and then one of those hits is going to make it through. So he's going to end up losing 1 HP off his total, which isn't a ton. And that's not bad. That's not terrible. Repositions an alt attack. I just want to make sure that doesn't come into play. Right, that's just instead of attacking unit may move 1 hex. I didn't want to do that. So we're okay there. And then that essentially resolves the attacking on my end. This individual here can't attack. As you can see, there's no dice in his chip, so I can't do any attacking. This person just distracts and swaps and stuff like that. More of a diplomat type character. So now we're going to move into the enemy phase here. We're going to have our deploy. They can't deploy because Kyriakos is dead. They have nobody else waiting to come in. They're going to roll their 4 dice for the champion, who's the only one actually left on board here. So black, blue, green, and yellow. Let's see what happens. Okay, so we got lots of misses. That's good news for us. So now let's take a quick look here at each one individually. So green came up blank, so no movement. Black actually did hit, so heave is going to happen. Heave the strongest opposing adjacent unit on an arena hex directly overhead. So the Centurion or the Hoplite's being chucked, but in this case, they're both at 3 health. So again, I get to choose who I chuck, and I'm absolutely going to have the Hoplite go because he has the most movement. So I'm going to throw him over this way. So he's tossed the Hoplite off of the arena hex, and then of course we rolled a blank for the yellow, so no basic attack. That's it. And there's only 1 champion in place. There's no other units to activate on the enemy side, so that's all she wrote. Now the really cool thing is we're moving into the next round, so we get to deploy, but as you can see, my deployment area is completely blank. I have nothing to bring in. We are also going to be activating units now, and at this point, at the start of any activation, I get points for whoever's on arena hexes, so I have 2, so I'm going to get 2 more points, so now I'm up to a total of 4. So we're very, very close to winning here, which is awesome. Now let me just double check in the rules here just for fun, just to be sure that the second I get the 6 points that is a game win. It says okay, so once a player reaches 6 points or more, the challenge is immediately won, and it's any unit occupying arena hex at the start of its turn gains +1 arena point. Okay, interesting. Oh, I didn't even notice, guys. My mistake. You know what I just noticed? Haha, I picked it up. I got it. I thought Ariq Boke was on a arena hex in the last attack that I just did, and I totally forgot about the elevated thing because I actually thought he was sitting on arena hex. So when I made my attack with the Centurion and the Hoplite right here against Ariq Boke, they would have both been a +1 onto the attack. Which would have been pretty devastating, but of course parry would block the first one completely, ignores the first successful basic attack against him, so that would be 1. But essentially, so say for instance I blocked Hoplite, well then Centurions is coming through, and it wouldn't have just been 1 damage, it would have been 2 because of the elevated skill. So he's actually a little more hurt than I originally had taken off, so I do apologize for that, but I did catch myself. I actually thought he was on arena hex just now, but he wasn't. It's just these 4 right here. Okay, so I give myself my 2 points, and we were double checking whether or not I win the second. It says yeah, it just says once a player reaches 6 or more, you've got it. And let's see, opponent. Yeah, it's just immediately won. So the second that I activate, I get those points, and then we just immediately win. So that's pretty awesome. Plays challenge to 6. Each player uses 4 deployment hexes. Yeah, that's pretty awesome. So we're looking good so far. So I've taken my 2 points. So now we can go ahead and move. Now at this point we've already got 3 guys. Oh, sorry, this Hoplite never actually moved back. He got chucked over. So this is where we're sitting right now. I was using that as an example to talk about the elevated thing that happened. So now we're gonna go ahead and get these Hoplite guys, or get these guys moving. So obviously the Hoplite, I don't know, in this situation. He's not going to be able to get back to one of these tiles because he only has 2 movement, so he's a little blocked. He can get to here, he won't be able to get to here, but guys, remember, if he doesn't attack, he can actually make it there because I can use something called reposition, which is an alternate attack. So during the attack phase, let me just see here, reposition, we just talked about this. Instead of attacking, unit may move 1 hex. So if we're not going to do that, and then he has the ability to propel, but he has to have someone adjacent to him to do it. So that won't help. But for movement anyway, we'll go 1, 2. I can't use the reposition just yet. I have to wait to the attack phase. And then instead of attacking, I'll just use 1 movement to use reposition to jump on the arena hex, which will be perfect. This guy back here, he's quite happy where he is. I don't see him wanting to change where he's positioned. So I'm going to leave him where he is. Just guarantees us a point, really. This individual back here, he can move finally, but he's not going to be able to even get to an arena hex. He'll just get closer, but that's about it. He has stun and combat lock, both of which aren't going to affect anything in this play. He's too far out of the play. We've got the Centurion here, who's definitely going to think about shoving Ariq Boke back. So I think that's going to probably what we're going to do, is toss him backwards maybe. Let me see. Now if I push him, then I'm thrown off the arena hex. So maybe I don't want to do that. I'm not going to use his shove ability this time. I'm going to actually let Centurion sit still because Ariq Boke's not even on arena hex in the first place. There's no reason to do that. So I'm happy with movement across the board now. Everyone's set the way I want them to be. So at this point, now let me just double check. Centurion, increase friendly units, move range by 1. Oh, that's kind of cool. Okay, well that's a permanent ability on him, but it's useless right now. Okay, so that's essentially the movement. Now we're going to move to attacking. So now we're going to have a little bit different situation. So again, like I said, the Hoplite is going to use his reposition instead of attacking to move to here. The Centurion will be making an attack against Ariq Boke, and again is elevated. I'm remembering that this time. We're making an attack against Ariq Boke with a green die. So I'm getting a +1 hit right off the get-go. But remember, with the blank die here, he's got parry, so it's completely wiped anyway. No damage gets thrown against him. So it's kind of a wash in terms of a combat there. And then that's essentially it in terms of attacking. So that is the end of the attack phase, and then next up we are going to move to the enemies. So this guy here is going to roll his dice because he's the only person in play. What do we got? Got a couple things. Oh, this black one's, it's kind of like, it's literally, I can't tell what that is. I'm going to have to re-roll that. And okay, there we go. So black and a blue is what we got to deal with, and we got to do them in order. So let's do the heave first, is heaving the strongest opposing unit. So in this case, again, we have a tie. So I'm just going to have the hoplite again be tossed over his, oh sorry, yes, that's right, tossed over his shoulder like so. And then the blue die says Arena Knockback. Ooh, we've never had this one yet that's been usable. All adjacent opposing units are pushed 1 hex away from this unit if possible. So the hoplite can't be pushed any further away, so he won't be able to be moved, but the Centurion will be. Units not pushed away take 2 damage. Oh! So he's essentially like shoving me up against the wall and I'm taking damage. It almost kills me. I only have 1 health left. It's only the ones that cannot move that take that 2 damage, whereas the Centurion actually would try to be hit 2 away and can't either, and because of that, the Centurion will take 2 damage, so he's down to 1 as well. Oh my gosh, that could have been terrible if I had had more damage on those guys. So at this point, things are getting a little bit cluttered, but that's it for resolving dice for them. So now we'll move on to, I guess at this point, we're moving back to my turn. And this is where I could potentially, this is where I win essentially, because at this point now we're going to deploy. I don't have anything to deploy. We're going to move, and this automatically means I start checking all the individuals who are sitting on arena hexes, and I have 2 units sitting on arena hexes giving me 2 points. And guys, that's all we need to successfully win the very first trial in Xanadu. So at this point in time, we were successful. The first trial has been completed. That's awesome. I didn't botch it up. I didn't screw it up. We actually managed to survive. So we took those challengers down, and we'll be essentially moving into the second trial in the next video. Now, just so we can talk a little bit about the next trial coming up, it says your draft is limited to 5 chips. So this time when we draft, I'm going to have to either continue with the same group I have now, which I might just for fun, and maybe knock 1 out, or I could just redraft 5 fresh people. That's kind of the part of the strategy in this game, is determining whether you should be doing the same thing or not. Now you'll notice we're still going to be playing in Xanadu. So there's a circle there saying on trial 2 Xanadu. So we are playing in the same map, but we're going to have a little bit different in terms of challengers. It looks like they're tossing a couple more our way. I'm sorry for the focus there. It's not. There we go. So Ariq Boke, Caricos, and it looks like we have Machimoy is going to be in there as well. So that's going to be 3 people we have to deal with. And because there are 4 deployment spots, we're going to have all 3 of those guys come into play. That's going to be interesting. It's going to definitely cause a little bit more jostling on these arena hexes in the next one. So it's probably going to get a little tougher. I was really lucky. I ended up... The Centurion really did all the work in keeping Ariq Boke off of, with his shove ability, off these arena hex. Otherwise, we would have had a little bit more of a, more of a fight in terms of points on either side. But I also number them, right, with gladiators this time, whereas I think the next trial is going to put it a little bit more even and a little bit more tough. The fact that this guy can do an ability like area knockback that can potentially hit for 2 damage whenever you can't move those individuals away that are adjacent, that's incredibly strong. As you could see, if I had taken even just 1 extra damage on either of those guys, they'd be dead. I would have lost them. So if that had happened early in the game, luckily my rolls were well enough that I was able to avoid that till now. If it had happened earlier in the game, things would have gone south a little bit quicker. So you can see how the rolling of the champion's AI can very much impact the game very quickly, for the positive or the negative, depending on timing. But anyway, so far so good. I'm having fun. This is a good one. So if you guys noticed anything during that run there that I made a mistake on, please let me know in the comments below. I know there's a good chunk of people, not everybody, but there's a good chunk of people that have played this game before. So if you have familiarity with the game and the rules, please let me know if I missed something. I did my best to remember about the elevated this time, even though I messed that up. Even during this video once, I was able to correct myself. But yeah, for the most part, it's been pretty good. And I'm actually going to take a quick look, really quick. I just thought of something. When Ariq Boke actually did his area knockback, and it said we would take 2 damage if we can't be pushed away, or yeah, essentially. So I took 2 damage off. I wonder if the parry ability on the Centurion would have actually ignored it. Oh, no, it wouldn't have, because the unit ignores the first successful basic attack. So it would have had that damage coming from a yellow die from the champion is what I can parry. I can't parry an arena knockback, which is kind of like a special ability in the blue there. And basic attack's down there in the yellow. So I just want to double check that. I was playing that correctly. So yeah, fun times. Hope you guys are enjoying it. We'll be moving into trial number 2 in the next video. Give me a thumbs up if you like what you see. If you have any strategic decisions or choices, let's take a quick look at the people I have in play. Here are the chips. What I want you guys to do is actually let me know in the comments what I should actually get rid of in the next draft. So essentially, oops, I don't actually own this guy. But these are my 6 chips. I have 2 tactics in play and 4 gladiators. So what I want you guys to do is let me know out of these 4 which one I should toss, because essentially I'm going to be taking, I think I'm going to go with the same group of 6 because they did well. I'm just going to have one of these removed. So I want you guys to let me know in the comments below which one I should get rid of. And again, share this if you're enjoying it with your friends, and let them get on board, because the more people helping me out as we go through, I think we have a good shot at getting all the way to trial number 20. Having fun. I'll see you guys in the next video. Keep on rolling solo.